how does a ninja who's basically unkillable go from literally breaking swords with his neck to fighting for his life against literal gods?
Just have to destroy it faster than it can heal!
Well, today, that's exactly what's going down in this anime, Hell's Paradise. The show starts off by showing us that our MC, Gabimaru the Hollow, thinks that he can't die. But as soon as he's forced to step foot on this mysterious island, he realizes he might not be as powerful as he once thought, and everything changes for him. For anyone who doesn't know about Hell's Paradise yet, trust me, it's an absolute banger that honestly deserves way more hype than it currently gets. So sit back, relax, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Episode 1 kicks off with our MC, Gabimaru, literally sitting on death row. The executioner slashes at his neck again and again, but the frickin' blade just snaps like a twig. Damn! Gabimaru just sits there wondering why he can't die, or rather, why he won't let himself die. He honestly didn't expect to live this long after he slaughtered so many people. We then cut to a girl taking notes on Gabimaru's life while he's locked up. We find out Gabimaru was a shinobi from the village of Iwagakure. Since birth, all he did was learn killing techniques. Apparently, a lot of people died during this training, but the survivors achieved superhuman bodies. So, breaking a sword with his neck, that's light work for him. Gabimaru even roasts the executioner, saying the guy was so trash with a sword he didn't even have to use ninjutsu to block it. That piques the girl's interest, and she asks him to see some ninjutsu. Obviously, he declines. The next day, they try to burn him alive, but the only thing that gets cooked is his outfit. I guess his hair is fireproof? Anyways, he gets locked up naked in the jail cell, and the girl digs for more info. Turns out, Gabimaru doesn't know much about his parents because the village chief killed them when he was a kid, and it doesn't bother him. Shinobis don't have dreams or grand purposes. They just kill as they're told to. So how did he get captured? He tried to leave the village, but got betrayed by his quote-unquote friends. Since leaving the village of Iwagakure is a big no-no, he was sentenced to death. The next day, they try to execute him again. This time, they tie 2 bulls to his legs to split him down the middle. But as you might have guessed, literally nothing happens. The bulls collapse, and Gabimaru is just chilling. The girl walks up to him and calls him out, saying it's strange how he claims to have no will to live, yet he was clearly resisting the bulls. She asks why he ran away from the village. Gabimaru explains that since he was the best ninja in Iwagakure, the village chief made him marry his daughter, but he claims the girl was a complete idiot whose sheltered childhood made her naive, and because of it, she turned his life upside down. Jeez. But then we see a flashback, and she was just being a normal wife? She tells him to take his shoes off before entering the house and says thank you for the meal. I guess he was just not used to a normal life. Later that night, one of the executioners warns the girl to stay away from him because he is Gabimaru the Hollow. Apparently, this emotionless monster single-handedly slaughtered 20 men when he was arrested. Honestly, he probably could have easily taken 1,000 more if he hadn't given up on life. The guard also mentions that shinobis from Iwagakure take something called an elixir of life, which grants them immortality. But the girl is starting to see cracks in Gabimaru's story. If he really didn't want to live, why fight 20 men before getting arrested? We then get a flashback showing that Gabimaru was actually resisting during the executions without even realizing it. He decides he's gonna stop resisting, so when they try to boil him in hot oil the next day, yeah, he just walks out of it completely fine. So the girl decides to take matters into her own hands. Oh, and by the way, her name is Yamada Asaemon Sagiri. Sagiri is gonna try and behead Gabimaru herself. We find out she's from the famous Yamada clan, who are professional executioners, and she is exceptionally skilled with a blade. As she gets ready to swing and looks into his eyes, Gabimaru realizes this woman can actually take his head off with one blow. His survival instincts kick in immediately. He breaks free of the wooden handcuffs and barely manages to dodge her strike. As he's dodging all of her blows, he starts asking himself why he doesn't want to die. He doesn't know himself. Sagiri answers that for him. The reason he clings to life is because he loves his wife. He snaps, grabs a sword, and jumps Sagiri. We get another short flashback of Gabimaru's wife telling him he's a kind person. Most people are disgusted by her face because her father, the chief, burned it so she couldn't live as a normal woman. The chief's actually pretty messed up, but Gabimaru isn't disgusted by her like others were. She kisses him and points out that he's blushing, so he definitely isn't emotionally hollow like he likes to claim. Back in the present, Gabimaru is exchanging blows with Sagiri, screaming that he's nothing but a heartless monster, but Sagiri isn't buying it. We also find out the village chief sentenced him to death because Gabimaru tried to quit being a shinobi to live a peaceful peaceful life with his wife. Sagiri then stops fighting and drops a bombshell. There's still time. A person named the Shogun can remove all of his charges, and he can see his wife again. But there's a catch. He has to go to a land called Shinsenkyo. It's supposed to be a paradise where the elixir of life can be found. The Shogun sent a search party to get it, but the only thing that returned was, well, let's just say they came back as flowers. He sent 5 more teams, and none of them returned alive. She says she's looking for skilled death row inmates with a will to live to send out for the next search party. She assures him his wife is still safe waiting for him in Iwagakure. The fat executioner isn't happy hearing Gabimaru just gets to walk out scot-free, so he orders his men to kill them both. Gabimaru sheds a few tears thinking about his wife and says he will show Sagiri some ninjutsu. Within the blink of an eye, he uses his ascetic blaze to take down every single guard. Just like that, our boy is back in the game, and off we go to find the elixir of life. The next episode starts off with a bit of family lore of Sagiri. There was once a storyteller sentenced to death who wanted to tell one last tale while being beheaded. Her father, Yamada Asemon Kichiji, agreed to fulfill his final wish. The guy was so skilled with the blade that the storyteller never even realized he had already been beheaded. God damn! After seeing that, Sagiri made it her mission to duplicate that immaculate blow. She began to work as an executioner, but there was a problem. After every kill, she would feel the heavy weight of the life she took. Her co-worker notices this and tells her straight up that she's not fit for this work because she can't eliminate fear and doubt from her heart. We then cut to the beach where all of the death row inmates are sitting on the sand with their hands tied and papers covering their faces. Okay, weird dress code, but sure. There are some seriously dangerous people out here. A thief who killed 30 people and a serial arsonist, just to name a few. One of the Shogun's guards announces that whoever brings back the elixir of life from Shinsenkyo gets a full pardon for all of their crimes. As he says that, we see a guy getting way too excited, thinking about how if he gets pardoned, he can go on another killing spree. This dude literally runs around killing women and children for fun. Yeah, he definitely should not be set free. Someone needs to lock him up for life. Gabimaru is just sitting there bored out of his mind when a girl behind him asks if he's Gabimaru the Hollow. Yeah, our boy is a bit of a celebrity among criminals. She's kind of bummed out though because Gabimaru isn't how she imagined he would be. She didn't expect him to look like a scrawny kid. After this, they're all told to take off their masks to see what happened to the last person who went to Shinsenkyo. They wheel out the only person who made it back alive, if you can even call it that. His body is covered with flowers, and he's basically turned into a human flower garden. The other 60 people who went with him, yeah, most likely dead. A kid asks what happens if the elixir isn't even there. The guards basically say, we don't care. If you want to leave, leave. So a guy gets up to walk away, and he gets beheaded instantly. I mean, they are death row inmates after all. What did he expect would happen? The rules are simple. Once they get to the island, each criminal will have their own monitor, a Yamada executioner who will keep them in line. If the monitor dies, the criminal gets beheaded. Simple as that. But before they depart, they need to reduce their numbers because they can't send this many people to the island. Some one-eyed freak is already choking someone out. The guards don't care at all. They just say, don't untie your hands. And just like that, it turns into an all-out battle royale. People are slaughtering each other brutally left and right. It's pure chaos. But Gabimaru? He just sits there. He isn't interested in killing anyone. As the bodies drop, we get introduced to some key players. That one-eyed guy is Chobei Aza. He led a group of bandits when he was just a kid. The girl talking to Gabimaru earlier is a really skilled kunoichi named Yuzuriha. Then there's this big guy, Gentetsusai Tamiya, a master swordsman. And finally, the even bigger guy is Rokuroda, who is allegedly invincible too. The Shogun is having way too much fun watching this bloodbath, but he spots the most famous and dangerous one, Gabimaru the Hollow, just standing there doing nothing. Okay, I promise, it's the last time I'll say his name like that. Trust. While this is happening, we get another flashback of Sagiri's life. Everyone hated her for being part of the Yamada clan, calling her a cannibal and a murderer. She realizes that no matter what, the truth is always reflected on the blade. She is a murderer, and so is everyone else in the clan because even if you never touch a blade, you're living off the money made from killing people. Back in the present, one of the criminals decides to jump Sagiri so he can get her sword and escape. Sagiri prepares to behead them, but she hesitates for a split second. Still, she pushes through and takes them out with ease. But immediately after, she's crushed by fear and guilt. Gabimaru speaks up, saying killing people is never okay. He asks if there isn't another way to decide who goes, questioning the point of all of this pointless killing. The guard just looks at all the other criminals and says, whoever kills this guy gets a spot on the expedition. Well, that backfired. A guy picks up a rock and gets ready to smash Gabimaru's head in. Gabimaru tries to reason with him, saying there's no point in this, but this guy ain't budging. So Gabimaru decides to flip the switch and goes full killer mode. Within a fraction of a second, bro just rips the guy's throat open. God damn! He then proceeds to brutally crush everyone. What happens next is a complete one-sided massacre. Just look at this. He literally bites a chunk out of someone's neck. The Shogun is completely flabbergasted by his power, and so is everyone else. Watching this, Sagiri realizes something. Instead of trying to get rid of the fear and guilt of killing, she has to learn how to carry the burden of it. As the episode ends, we see the final expedition team. It's filled with really strong and capable freaks of nature, but only one can bring back the elixir of life. Things are about to get interesting. Episode 3 starts off by showing us the village chief getting stabbed, sliced up, shot by arrows, with his insides literally spilling out, but somehow he remains standing. It turns out this demonstration was shown to Gabimaru and the other shinobis to prove that the chief is truly unkillable, apparently because of some strange medicine he got from overseas. So is the elixir of life real? Once they reach the island, Gabimaru confirms it. It is real. The elixir is also known as the, and forgive me if I butcher this, Tokijiku no Kagu no Mi.
It's real. The elixir of life. The Tokijiku no Kagu no Mi.
But whether or not it's actually here in Shinsenkyo is a different story. We see the island is blooming with a bunch of colorful flowers and trees, but Gabimaru points out it's actually really creepy. There's no rhyme or reason to the different types of plants blooming here, so who knows what they'll come across. He unties himself to look around, but Sagiri immediately goes into hallway monitor mode. She tells him he can't do that and orders him to bind his hands. Gabimaru complains, saying, bruh, just let it slide. We only got rations for 3 days and one crappy drawing of this island. But uh-oh, Sagiri is not playing around. I guess she really wants him to stay tied up. As she's tying his hands, he suddenly gets slammed by a giant big black ball. Pause. It's Warped Kayan, another convict. He's hyped about getting his first kill, but Gabimaru just gets up like nothing happened. He just dislocated his neck. No big deal. Gabimaru points out that Kayan's hands aren't tied, and his monitor doesn't seem to care. But Sagiri does care and insists Gabimaru keeps his hands tied. As Gabimaru is tying his hands, he just tanks all of Kayan's blows. God damn, how strong is this guy? Gabimaru grabs Kayan's sphere, launches his full body weight with just one kick, and uses his own weapons to pack him up. That was quick. Kayan's monitor beheads the convict and starts heading back to the ship. Sagiri tells him to be careful as nobody has left this island alive, but the monitor says he's the lucky one for getting out this early. He mentions that he's seen others already trying to narrow down the numbers, some pretending to be friends, others trying to seduce their monitors. As he leaves, we cut to Aizen, Sagiri's close colleague, getting absolutely squished by Rokuroda, and then he eats him? Oh, nah! We also see the inmate who tried to seduce the blind monitor got beheaded, and it looks like Yuzuriha and her victim are both out of the game. It is chaos out here. Back with our duo, Gabimaru suddenly attacks Sagiri. Wait, what? He says he wants to kill her painlessly and quickly so he can do this mission solo, but she ruined that. We then find out the chief killed Gabimaru's parents because they were sorry excuses for Jonin for asking to leave the village the moment they had a child. The chief told young Gabimaru that unless you are strong, you will not be able to protect anything and you're gonna end up like your parents. We cut back to the present day where Gabimaru and Sagiri are going at it. At first glance, it looks like they're a perfect match, but Gabimaru is clearly holding back. Sagiri reminds him that if she dies, he will also be beheaded, but he says it won't matter if he finds the elixir of life and gets the pardon. We see both Sagiri and Gabimaru are hesitating to go for the kill. Gabimaru is getting flashbacks of his wife telling him that not wanting to kill someone is a perfectly normal feeling and proves he isn't hollow inside. Gabimaru almost rips Sagiri's throat out, but stops at the last second. He flips the switch again.
Unless you're strong, you'll never be able to protect anything.
And just as it looks like it's over for Sagiri, he freezes. He can't bring himself to kill her. Sagiri realizes the truth. He's been suppressing all of his pain and emotions this whole time. He's just another human being, not a monster. She calls him out, and honestly, he made her realize a lot of things about herself too. Gabimaru thinks that he has become weaker because of these emotions, but Sagiri corrects him. She says that's not the case. He's actually becoming stronger and growing as a person. This mirrors exactly what his wife used to say. Gabimaru stops trying to kill her, and Sagiri forgives him, saying he's not the same Gabimaru the Hollow anymore. Aw, look at that character development. And I even stopped saying Gabimaru the Hollow. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We can't end this episode on a happy note. This is Hell's Paradise after all. As the episode ends, we see the swordsman Gentetsusai and his monitor Yamada Asemon Fuchi exploring the island. Gentetsusai gets bit by some butterfly. He looks closer at it and realizes it has a freaking human face. His instincts kick in immediately, and without hesitation, he chops his own hand off. Fuchi is confused, but Gentetsusai points out that an insect with a human face is clearly not from this world, and we see his severed hand bloom flowers. They look around and realize they're surrounded by all types of creepy insects and monsters. Yeah, they might be cooked. Episode 4 starts off with a flashback of Gentetsusai. Back in the day, he was known as the Blade Dragon, the strongest swordsman in 8 provinces. Since he was such a big deal, some rich guy invited him over to his mansion. As he was talking to him, he said,
"I realize you've been called the Blade Dragon, but surely a real dragon would tear you in two."
Gentetsusai took that personally. He walks outside and literally destroys the giant stone dragon on the guy's gate, and he is sentenced to death because of that. Bro literally got the death penalty for property damage. It was not that deep. We also find out his monitor Fuchi is really into dissecting humans. We cut back to the present day where Gabimaru and Sagiri are fighting some weird giant fish monster with 6 arms wearing prayer beads. And this fish is actually kind of strong? He's legitimately doing some damage to Gabimaru. Gabimaru gets a small flashback of his village chief's teachings and decides they should run for now. But just a small problem. There's nowhere to run. They're completely surrounded by giant monsters. Gabimaru decides to turn off his brain and focus only on killing. He starts killing all the monsters one after another without thinking about anything else. Sagiri gets jumped by one of the weird creatures, and Gabimaru tells himself to just focus on his opponents, but his body moves on its own to save her. Out of nowhere, Yuzuriha and 2 others walk in. I guess she's alive? Yuzuriha immediately tries to seduce Gabimaru, but yeah, that's not gonna work. She proposes they join forces because otherwise, it's gonna be impossible to survive on this island. We get introduced to 2 of the monitors with her. There's Genji. His inmate was killed by Yuzuriha after she deceived him, so now he's helping keep an eye on her. Then there's her actual monitor, Senta.
I'm Yamada Asemon Senta, and...
Yeah, anyway.
Come on, let the poor man speak. Yuzuriha insists on working together, but Gabimaru is like, nah, I know the Kunoichi way. I'm not falling for it. But she drops some intel. She says the real threat isn't the big monsters, it's the bugs. Specifically the human-faced butterflies. Their scales are full of poison and some kind of hallucinogen. And how does she know all of this? Because she ran experiments on the other inmate she seduced. She literally used him as a lab rat until he died.
What did you really do to him?
Nothing I didn't tell you.
I'm calling it right now. This girl is bad news. But Gabimaru needs the info, so he agrees to team up. As all of this is happening, Sagiri suddenly passes out. Wait, what? Did she get bitten by one of those bugs earlier? Then we get a short flashback of a young Yamada named Toma, who requests to let him execute Shobei as his first kill. But plot twist, that's actually his brother. He infiltrated the Yamada clan just so he could save him. God damn, that is some dedication. We cut to the present day, where Shobei and Toma have some face-to-face with the giant monsters. Toma is scared, but Shobei, he adapts immediately and starts taking them on. As the fight goes on, we get small flashbacks of their life, how they were orphaned after their clan was wiped out and got attacked by bandits, but Shobei won them over somehow. In the fight, Toma gets caught by a monster, and it looks like Shobei just ignores him? But nope, he just went to grab an axe and came back just in time to save his brother. Suddenly, some talking monsters walk in. This thing starts yapping like some deity, preaching about how murder is bad and they should repent. But Shobei does not give a He says he decides what he wants to do, and that he is his own god. Then he takes all of them down in seconds. Damn, he is strong. As the episode ends, we see Sagiri being carried somewhere by the others. Things are looking grim. Episode 5 starts off with Sagiri waking up from a bad dream. She sees her dad looking at her with a disappointed look. Genji tells her she was poisoned by the butterflies scales, which is why she passed out. Meanwhile, Gabimaru says he scouted the entire area, but didn't find anything remotely close to the picture they were given. Yuzuriha asks a solid question. How will he even know it's the elixir if he finds it? Does he know what it looks like? Gabimaru actually does know because he saw his village chief use it to become immortal, but he decides to lie and says he has no clue. Gabimaru thinks most of the plants on this island used to be human beings at one point. That makes Yuzuriha lose her appetite. Senta points out all of the weird stone statues and wonders who made them. Sagiri points out how the monsters have flesh and bones but no organs inside. And they also don't have any private parts, in case you were wondering. Gabimaru figures if there are any creatures living with no organs, the elixir of life might actually be here. Later that evening, Genji goes up to Sagiri and tells her to go back home right now because she's a girl and not strong enough to survive this place. Senta steps in, pointing out that nobody has ever been able to leave this island safely, so it's definitely not that easy. As he says that, we cut to the young convict Nurugai and his monitor Tenza, and they're both actively trying to leave this island. Tenza says he will talk to the Shogun because, out of everyone, Nurugai deserves to be set free the most. They come across a graveyard of ships. Every vessel that tried to leave was completely wrecked. Suddenly, they get attacked by a bunch of tentacles from the sea. Dude, all of the creatures here are so creepy. We get a flashback of Nurugai's life. His grandfather told him to run and carry on their bloodline. We see that Nurugai had found some lost samurai and helped them find his hidden village, only for the samurai to kill everyone there. Damn. Now he's been carrying that guilt, thinking that if he never helped them, his grandfather and the other people from his village would still be alive. He thinks this is divine punishment and that he deserves it. We also see that red-haired monitor who tried to leave earlier. Yeah, he's cooked. There is no saving him. Nurugai says he's just going to let himself die here to atone for his sins, but Tenza is not letting that happen. He tells Nurugai to forget about the village right now. If he wants to live, he has to do whatever it takes. With that motivation boost, they barely manage to escape back to shore. They're both busted up, but alive. They realize this island is surrounded by these monsters, and the currents push everything back inward. As they're washing off the blood, we find out Nurugai is actually a girl? Wait, what? Later that night, we see Gabimaru staying up to keep watch just in case they get jumped. Sagiri tells him to rest and offers to take over, but he's like, nah. We find out he actually feels a bit guilty, saying if he hadn't given her that wound earlier, the poison probably wouldn't have been this bad. He thanks her for teaching him how to face his emotions instead of pushing them aside. Sagiri compliments him, saying he's very strong, but Gabimaru surprises her by saying she is actually stronger than him. He's not sure if it's her heart or her technique, but she is definitely stronger. That he knows for sure. Really, Gabimaru? Is she hiding some kind of bankai we don't know about? The next day, Sagiri tells Genji there is no way she's leaving this island. We see flashbacks of her life. Everyone in her clan hating on her for being a female executioner, telling her to just live like a normal woman, and outsiders calling her a murderer. She has a lot to prove on this mission. Genji is not hearing it though. After a bit of back and forth, he says this is no place for women and children, and actually attacks her. But Sagiri just yoinks the sword out of his hand effortlessly. Genji is pissed off seeing that she is actually more skilled than he thought. But before Genji can even process anything, Rokuroda appears out of nowhere. He takes a swipe and literally rips out a chunk of Genji's guts. Episode 6 kicks off with a disturbing flashback of Rokuroda. Turns out ever since he was a kid, this guy was just built different. A certified big back from day one. He was so hungry he literally ate everything in his village. Back in the present, Genji actually pushes Sagiri out of the way and takes the direct hit from Rokuroda. Bro gets flung across the map. Sagiri runs to help, but Genji knows he's cooked. He tells her to run because he's done for. Is this the same guy who just tried to kill her 5 seconds ago? Rokuroda goes after Sagiri, but Gabimaru swoops in just in time and kicks him in the face. But it doesn't even leave a scratch. Gabimaru immediately questions if this thing is even human. His skin is as tough as an Iwagakure resident, so taking him down is not gonna be easy. Rokuroda responds by casually picking up a whole tree and chucking it at him. Gabimaru barely dodges, while Yuzuriha is on the sidelines just cheering him on. When it comes to raw power, Rokuroda is in a league of his own. Gabimaru can't even block his blows. He tries to use stone bullets, but no luck. As Genji is dying, he finally apologizes to Sagiri for underestimating her just because of her gender. He hands her his blade and tells her to survive this nightmare before kicking the bucket. Meanwhile, Gabimaru is hesitating. His survival instincts are screaming that he will get squashed like a bug if he gets too close. But Sagiri steps in and chops off Rokuroda's pinky. She's been studying human anatomy and knows exactly where to cut to bypass that thick skin. Yuzuriha, being the snake she is, thinks they can't win and is already planning her escape route. Jeez, what a terrible ally to have. Gabimaru and Sagiri come up with a plan. Bring the giant down to his knees so Sagiri can decapitate him. But uh-oh, Gabimaru sprained his leg and can't move properly. Then Rokuroda starts crying. He's just hungry. What a big back. This absolute unit goes on a rampage and crushes Gabimaru into the ground. Gabimaru gets back up, but his insides are definitely messed up. Just when it looks like it's over, Sagiri steps in and manages to deflect one of his blows. And it's no fluke. She keeps deflecting them, one after the other. I guess Gabimaru wasn't lying when he said she's stronger than him in terms of technique. Gabimaru comes up with a risky plan. He decides to use his Ninpo Aztec blaze to set the forest around him on fire. Since smoke rises, it's going to suffocate Rokuroda and force him to kneel down. Of course, Yuzuriha is already running away from Senta, even calling the poor guy a four-eyed raccoon dog. Gabimaru's plan gets messy, but he risks it all by holding one of the giant's arms down, giving Sagiri enough time to concentrate. She locks in and decapitates him in one blow. As he dies, the only thing Rokuroda can think of is why he's always hungry and why nobody would ever play with him. I'm not sure if I should feel bad for him or not. After the fight, they get out of the fire and notice something strange. All the monsters are actually going towards the fire instead of running away from it. Gabimaru says they have to go in the direction the monsters are coming from, because the elixir of life is probably wherever they live. It's risky, but it's the only lead they've got. They run into Yuzuriha and Senta, who seem to have stumbled upon a village? As the episode ends, we check in on Toma and Shobe. They're beating up the rest of the monsters, and Shobe is literally drinking their blood? That's crazy! He senses something powerful and heads towards it, saying it better be something he can eat, but what they find isn't food. It's two extremely beautiful human-like creatures making out? What even is this place? In the next episode, we pick up right where we left off. Shobe and Toma have stumbled right into the lion's den. They come face to face with two human-like creatures who are making out on top of a tree. They wonder how ordinary people made it this deep into the forest. One of them actually invites the brothers to join in, but the yellow-haired one shuts that down immediately, complaining that the mood is ruined before casually shape-shifting into a male body. We cut back to Gabimaru and the others. A little girl is spying on them. Gabimaru spots her and the chase is on. He nearly catches her, but a massive tree monster intercepts him. Gabimaru tells the others to handle the monster while he pursues the girl. He tries to explain that he just wants to talk, but she grabs his hand and slams him into the ground. Wait, what? Sagiri shouts for her to stop running, and surprisingly, the girl listens. But the second she turns around, she launches a punch. Gabimaru blocks it, but the impact creates a shockwave that nearly knocks him out. This is clearly no ordinary child. Gabimaru isn't going down that easily though. He uses ninja techniques to bind her with tree roots. Suddenly, the girl starts crying. Beneath that strength, she looks like a scared human child. Sagiri calms her down just as Yuzuriha catches up. And surprise, surprise, the tree monster isn't dead. In fact, it can talk. The monster bargains with them. If they return the girl, he will lead them to the village and tell them about the elixir of life. Yuzuriha is skeptical. The monster offers food, but Yuzuriha won't budge. However, the moment he mentions he has a bath, he leads them to his home, an abandoned village that has been around for 1,000 years. Gabimaru asks the tree monster about his relationship with the girl, but he refuses to share that detail. He does, however, spill the beans on the elixir. He confirms that this is the land of the gods and the elixir is real. In the legends, it's referred to as Tan. The tree explains the island's geography. The shore and woods are part of the Eishu region. The village is the Hojo region, but the elixir is located in Horai, the very center of the island. Hearing that the elixir is real, Gabimaru is pumped. He's one step closer to seeing his wife again, but he needs proof. He asks how they can trust this intel. The tree monster says once they come across Tensen, they will understand everything. As he's saying all this, we cut to Chobe and Toma fighting one of these Tensen. They manage to slice the creature in half, but it regenerates instantly. These beings are allegedly undying, ageless, and perfect, wielding the power of gods. Back at the village, the tree explains that humans who trespass are slain. We see the horrific reality as Tensen drags Chobe and Toma's bodies towards a pit. The tree reveals that humans aren't just killed, they're reborn as magnificent flowers. While we watch Toma desperately trying to save Chobe from turning into flowers, we learn the dark truth. The lives turned into flowers become the source of Tan. The elixir of life is essentially made of human souls. To prove his point, the tree breaks his own hand off and regrows it, showing he possesses a small amount of that power. Gabimaru Gabimaru asks if the girl also has a bit of that power, but we don't get an answer. But we do learn the tree's name is Hoko and the little girl is Mei. They've been living here for centuries and just want peace. Later, Gabimaru goes to take a bath and accidentally walks in on Mei changing. He's unfazed, casually stripping down, saying that back in Iwagakure, mixed bathing was normal. As he's getting ready for a bath, he notices a nasty scar on Mei's back. Sagiri helps Mei with the bath, triggering a flashback for Gabimaru. He remembers his wife. He used to hate baths because they relaxed him too much, taking away his battle tension. His wife would tell him he was stretching himself too thin and that he needed to rest to win the real battle. We see a tender moment where Gabimaru tells his wife not to hide the scar on her face and that it doesn't bother him one bit. Back in the present, Gabimaru tells Mei not to be ashamed of her scar. He tells her appearances don't matter, and he knows a woman with a terrible scar on her face who is still the most beautiful woman in the world. Hearing this, Mei finally warms up to him. As the episode ends, the group walks back to base. Gabimaru's resolve is stronger than ever, so he's gonna save his wife no matter what. Episode 8. This episode kicks off with Tenza's backstory. Born on the streets, he was treated like garbage, called a waste of space by everyone, including parents who couldn't care less about feeding him. He did whatever he had to do to survive other than killing. One day, after beating up some samurai who insulted him, he gets confronted by a blind man, Shion Asaemon. We cut to the present. Tenza and Nuragai are plotting their next move when suddenly, a Tensen spawns out of nowhere. The danger levels spike immediately. They try to run, but from their POV, this guy is disappearing and reappearing instantly because of how fast he is. The Tensen sends Tenza flying without even making contact. Nuragai manages to dodge a few blows, and Tenza gets a hit in, slashing the monster's eyes, but of course, they grow right back. Tenza uses his sword skills to slice the guy into 3 pieces and makes a run for it, but it doesn't even take the Tensen half a second to catch up. Just as things are looking grim, Shion arrives to save the day. Once they're far enough, Shion explains he was looking for ocean currents to escape the island. He found a promising spot, but since there's only so much a blind guy can do alone, he went looking for backup, and then found them running from the Tensen. Tenza is hyped. They can leave, but Shion immediately points his blade at Nuragai. He says she is a convict, and Protocol says she dies first. He mentions he already disposed of his own assigned criminal after she tried to seduce him. He demands to know why Tenza is protecting a criminal. Tenza argues that just like Shion saw potential in a street rat like him, he sees potential in Nuragai to live a normal, free life. Shion sighs. After seeing Tenza's character development, he agrees. But he warns that if she tries anything funny, he won't hesitate to kill her. He refers to Nuragai as her. Both of them are shocked. How does the blind guy know she's a girl? Suddenly, the Tensen finds them. Shion tries to grab them to run, but his throat is slashed. The Tensen are actually impressed that his head didn't fall off. Tenza steps up to fight, but he's outclassed. Shion, bleeding out, tells him to run, but Tenza attacks anyways. And honestly, he should have listened to his master. The Tensen hits him with the deadliest finger flick in history. Tenza suddenly has 4 new ventilation holes in his chest. As Tenza falls, we get a flashback to his training days. Shion tells a young Tenza to never give up and keep grinding, because one day he will get his day to shine. But Tenza, feeling destined for failure, wants to quit. Shion makes a deal. If Tenza can land just 1 hit on him, he can leave. The next morning, Tenza tries to sneak away without fighting, but he's stopped by Aizen. Aizen tells him he can do whatever he wants, but first, they're taking a walk. He takes Tenza to a grave. It belongs to Shion's former student. This student was just like Tenza, talented but wanted to live life by his own rules. He left the dojo, and for a while, he was fine. One day, Shion was assigned an execution. As he raised his blade, he sensed the criminal was his former student. But it is what it is! The last thing Shion heard as the blade came down was, "Master, I'm sorry." Since then, Shion has dedicated his life to preventing that tragedy from happening again by helping others fix their lives. Hearing this, Tenza decides to not leave the dojo and train under Shion. Back in the brutal present, Tenza is dying. He realizes that at this rate, Shion and Nuragai will die too. He refuses to let that happen. With the last ounce of his strength, he stands up to buy them time. Shion realizes what he's doing. He knows he can't let this sacrifice be for nothing. He grabs Nuragai and runs. We see Tenza getting back up, punching the Tensen again and again, even when he knows he's full of holes. Safe in the forest, Nuragai breaks down, asking how Shion could leave his student to die. Shion replies that Tenza was more than a student. He was like a brother. He's not letting Tenza's sacrifice go to waste and promises the 10 cents will pay for this. This show is officially an emotional roller coaster, and I don't think we're getting off anytime soon. Episode 9 opens with the group group fast asleep, except for Gabimaru, who's keeping watch. Despite Senta's earlier warnings not to scout alone until they have more intel, Gabimaru decides to go out and scout anyways. He heads towards the center of the island and stumbles upon a strange sight. Dozens of tree-like creatures, similar to Hoko, sitting motionless as if praying to something. We also catch a glimpse of Mei secretly tailing him. Gabimaru eventually runs into a giant shrine gate, where a Tensen spawns in behind him. Gabimaru doesn't realize what it is yet, but this Tensen goes by Zushin, so we'll call him that instead of Tensen. Surprisingly, Zushin says she doesn't want to fight or capture any more humans and tells Gabimaru to just leave. Gabimaru immediately asks if the capturing is for the elixir. He really should have just kept his mouth shut, because that question ticks Zushin off. Now it's a 1 versus 1. When it comes to raw techniques, Gabimaru is skilled, but it doesn't matter how good you are when you're fighting an immortal gun who regenerates instantly. Gabimaru tries to burn her with his Aztec blaze. He thinks it works, but of course it doesn't. He gets absolutely folded. Zushin shifts into a male body, assuming the intruder is dead, but nope, Gabimaru is alive and goes straight to throwing hands. And oh my god, this scene is beautifully animated. Zushin admits he hasn't seen a human this strong in centuries. For a split second, we see Gabimaru use the same weird power the Tensens use, landing a fatal blow that actually makes Zushin bleed. Wait, what? Zushin shifts back to a female body and locks in, throwing invisible blasts of force. Gabimaru can't even see them, let alone dodge them. He's taking heavy damage, realizing that if he dies now, he'll never see his wife again. He decides to stop thinking. He says he doesn't need a plan. He just needs to punch faster than she can regenerate. This scene is easily one of the best in the entire show. He's pummeling her like crazy. Zushin can't even tell what's happening anymore, but it's not enough. Zushin reveals a terrifying second form, increasing her power by a lot. Gabimaru stands no chance against this. He's getting folded, unable to land a single blow. He tries to use ninjutsu, but his body won't let him. As he passes out, Gabimaru wakes up beside his wife. Wait, was this all a dream? Or some sort of foreshadowing? Nope, he's just dreaming while Zushin is breaking his body in the real world. Ouch. But Gabimaru is built different. Even while unconscious, he remembers the chief's teachings. His shinobi instincts are drilled so deep into his DNA that he keeps fighting while knocked out, even going so far as to set himself on fire to take his foe down with him. Suddenly, Mei steps in. She creates a force field and they both fall off the cliff into the abyss. Zushin doesn't follow them because they're at their limit. Back at camp, Senta apologizes to Sagiri for falling asleep. He tried to look for Gabimaru, but the fog was too thick. Sagiri wants to go find him, but Yuzuriha is dismissive, saying they don't need Gabimaru since he was only good for combat. But the second Hoko mentions he can navigate the fog, Yuzuriha pulls a complete 180 and says, "Let's go save our buddy Gabimaru." We then cut to a meeting of all 7 Tensens. They're debating which body is better, male or female, while bullying Zushin for letting 2 humans escape at the beach and losing a fight last night. Zushin looks like a dried up tree, completely drained of power. Their leader, Lord Tensen, tells them to stop harassing him because they're all family. Zushin lies, claiming he killed the human, and they all take a shot of Tan, the elixir of life. Legend has it that originally, all the Tensens were one being who split into 7. We also see a quick clip of Chobei and Toma climbing out of the pit. Somehow they survived. Back with the group, Hoko drops a bombshell. Long ago, he was a human. There used to be a lot of humans on this island, but the village fell to ruin 1,000 years ago. The people began transforming into trees. Before they fully lost themselves, they would pick a spot and sit in a praying position, hoping to enter heaven. He says the Tensens are gods and must never be defied. As the episode ends, we see Sagiri worrying about Gabimaru. Gabimaru is by a riverbank with Mei. He realizes the Tensens aren't gods. At their core, they're just monsters who can be killed. In the next episode, Gabimaru has come face to face with Gentetsusai and his monitor Fuchi. Both men stand perfectly still, but in their heads, they are running simulations of the fight. They both know that if they clash now, both of them will be severely injured. Gabimaru breaks the silence. He notes that Gentetsusai's balance is off, and he's guarding his left side, deducing that he's injured. Gentetsusai is shocked. Gabimaru figured all of that out just by looking at him? Fuchi steps in as the voice of reason, suggesting they focus on gathering intel. Intel such as what happened to Gabimaru's monitor and who the girl with him is. Gabimaru considers attacking, but instead he bows. He asks them to work together. He isn't the same old Gabimaru the Hollow anymore. Gentetsusai draws his sword to test him, but Gabimaru doesn't flinch. Gentetsusai respects the guts, but he scoffs. He wants to work with a warrior, not a man who bows. Fuchi asks the logic behind this truce, so Gabimaru spills the beans on the Tensens. Gentetsusai gets excited. He wants to fight strong opponents. Yeah, buddy, hold on to that excitement until you actually get clipped by one. Fuchi, on the other hand, just wants to dissect one. We learn Gentetsusai's true motivation. He doesn't want the pardon or the elixir of life for himself. He thinks literal immortality is boring. He wants conceptual immortality. He wants to perform feats so legendary that people will talk about him for generations. Okay. It's actually kind of reasonable. With that, the alliance is formed. Mei wakes up and, she has changed. In just one night, she physically aged up about 5 years. She can even speak a little now. Gabimaru is surprised and thanks her for saving his life. He asks the big question. Is she related to the Tensens? And how can they take down the Tensens? Mei answers with one word. Tao. Her explanation is vague. She mumbles about power, weakness, and the soul. We cut to Sagiri's group, where Senta is going full detective mode. He argues that this island can't be the real Shinsenkyo. It's likely a man-made system based on ancient mythology. He drops some solid points based on his research. Yuzuriha says if that's all actually true, and some being has pulled the strings on this island for 1,000 years, they're all cooked. She also thinks Gabimaru is dead, but Sagiri says there's no way he's going down like that. He will make it back alive and go back to his wife. Back with Hoko, he gives us the lore dump. Tao is the energy that flows through all things. The Tensens are masters of controlling it, and touching Tao is like touching the very essence of the universe. Meanwhile, Shion is training Nuragai. Do they really have time for that? We find out Shion can use a bit of Tao. That's how he sees despite being blind. He doesn't know it's Tao though. He explains it's about yin and yang, finding the balance between rage and calmness. If you can hit that mental state, you can wield Tao and sense everything around you. Suddenly, giant monsters surround them. We finally see the world through Shion's eyes. He senses Tao in everything. Visualizing their shapes, he manages to cut them down with ease. Gabimaru's team gets attacked too, but Gentetsusai handles it. We cut to two Tensens making out. I guess that's just their thing. They're always doing that. But more importantly, we see Chobei and Toma. They manage to climb out of the pit that they were thrown in. Toma wants to leave the island, but Chobei refuses to leave until he kills every single one of them. Chobei isn't just a meathead. He's actually smart. He theorizes that since the Tensens are plant-like and their regeneration point is around their groin, that's most likely their weak spot. Just as he's about to have a snack, a new monster spawns in. This one introduces itself as a Doshin. It explains the Soshin are defective deities and that Doshins are the ones who directly serve the Tensens. It tells them to get back in the pit and become tan. Chobei obviously isn't listening to that garbage, so he jumps the Doshin and rips its arm off as Toma handles the small fires. As Chobei fights, the Doshin says a person who cannot wield Tao can never truly damage them. The Doshin can see exactly where to strike by reading Chobei's Tao and knocks him out. In episode 11, we find out Chobei was actually faking it. He lunges forward and literally rips a chunk out of the monster's face. But wait, the Doshin notes that Chobei's throat, which was slashed earlier, has already regenerated. He looks at the weird marks spreading on Chobei's body and theorizes that the plant life in the pit has merged with him, making him a half monster. And now, Chobei can actually sense Tao. The Doshin is shocked because humans aren't supposed to be able to detect it. Yet Chobei figures out that this energy is the source of their power. Not only that, but his own Tao is becoming denser and stronger by the second. The Doshin breaks Chobei's arms, but it regenerates instantly, covered in those same strange markings. We get a flashback to how Chobei lost his eye. When bandits found the brothers years ago, they mocked them, calling them spoiled rich kids. They were about to scar up Toma, so Chobei picked up a knife, sliced his own eye open, and told them to cut him up however they wanted. Damn! Back in the present, Chobei is sensing the invisible blows and his Tao is growing exponentially. He even learns to gather energy in his arms just by watching the Doshin do it. Toma is happy his brother is alive, but he knows those vine markings are bad news. For a split second, we see the same vine-like markings on Mei. We cut to Gabimaru's group, where a Doshin has arrived to take Mei. He says it's been centuries since she disappeared from the palace and demands she returns to the Tensens. It's revealed that Mei is actually a Tensen herself, but she isn't fully developed. The Doshin claims that without her help, they can't grow stronger. Mei is terrified and refuses to go. So Gabimaru steps in. Another Doshin spawns in, summoning a swarm of insects. Gentetsusai is eager for revenge after losing his hand to one of those butterflies, but the enemies can use invisible attacks. And on top of that, their teamwork is also terrible, which obviously doesn't help. The enemies ask asks why Gabimaru is protecting her. He says he's just repaying a favor, but demands to know why they want her back so badly. That is when we find out the disgusting truth. They explain that Mei plays a crucial role in their training regimen. There are 5 steps to mastering Tao. The final step involves balancing yin and yang through intimate physical union. That is why the Tenzins are always making out. Mei is considered a defect because she only possesses the Yang Key. She had 2 choices: die or be used as a tool for the Doshin's training. Putting it as lightly as I can for this video, she was forced to do it with the Doshins, and that scar on her back is a permanent reminder of her status as an object to them. Ugh. Hearing this, both Gabimaru and Gentetsusai are fuming, and rightfully so. They are not letting this slide. Gabimaru's Tao gets stronger. The mood immediately shifts. The air becomes heavy with intensity. I mean, if you've ever watched Bleach, we are talking full-on spiritual pressure vibes right now. The 2 Doshins transform and put up a fight. Even though Gabimaru's Tao is stronger, he can't see it yet. To use it properly, he needs to calm his mind and find the balance between rage and calmness. Mei helps him understand the concept. Suddenly, he can see the so-called invisible blows. He gains essentially 360-degree vision, predicting their attacks by watching the flow of their energy. He realizes that by accepting his own weakness, his love for his wife, and the desire to live, he can find the weakness in others. We also learn that back when Sagiri fought Rokuroda, she was subconsciously using a bit of Tao as well. With this new power, Gabimaru starts absolutely packing the Doshins up. As the episode ends, we see Sagiri's group is in big trouble. They have just run into another Tenzin who goes by the name of Mudan. Episode 12 picks up right where we left off. Sagiri's team has run into Mudan. The Tenzin remarks that they are an impressive group, considering no human has reached this spot in over 1,000 years. Yuzuriha tries to dip, but Mudan isn't letting that happen. Sagiri decides to step up, demanding the Tenzin to let her go, even though she is just as terrified as everyone else. Hoko, accepting his fate, says that even if Mudan kills him, his soul will go to Harai in the afterlife. But Mudan reveals that Harai, Jujus, and everything else is all made up. It's just a lie used to maintain order. This island is nothing but a giant place for experiments. Hoko and the other humans were just test subjects, and the humans who come to the island are just fresh research material. The high-quality humans become tan, and then he drops a bombshell. The elixir of life, the tan, is essential to the Tenzins, but for ordinary humans, consuming it turns them into a tree. Hoko and the flower people technically have eternal life, but they lost their humanity and youth. The elixir that grants humans immortality doesn't exist on this island. Wait, if the elixir isn't here, what the hell did the village chief drink? How is he immortal? And what are Gabimaru and the others supposed to do now? Mudan demands they come with him for some experiments. Yuzuriha uses a substitution technique to escape and attacks, chopping Mudan's head off. She thinks she secured the W, telling everyone they need to leave since the elixir isn't here. But you can't kill a Tenzin that easily. Mudan regenerates and uses human puppets to attack. Yuzuriha dodges effortlessly. It turns out she can actually see Tao. Back in her village, they called it Ki, but it's the same thing. Mudan criticizes her application of it, saying he can teach her better. Senta tries to intervene, but Mudan ignores him, literally calling him fat boy before using Tao to send Sagiri flying. Yuzuriha decides to get serious. She uses a strange liquid and activates her ninjutsu, Ninpo Slime String. It's a substance that burns anything on contact, except her own skin of course, cause that's literally how she makes it. She melts Mudan down, but he grows right back. Mudan continues to glaze Yuzuriha, praising her use of Tao. We get it, man, she's talented. Sagiri tries to strike his weak spot, the Tanden, based on Hoku's advice, but no luck. She doesn't have enough Tao, so she can't truly damage him. However, in the next second, Sagiri manages to find that mental balance. Her Tao increases exponentially, and this time, her blade actually cuts him. We learn the rule. To beat a Tenzin, you have to hit them with a stronger density of Tao than they possess. Sagiri can temporarily boost her Tao using breathing techniques, but Mudan has tricks up his sleeve. He goes invisible, but Yuzuriha can see through it since her substitution technique works on similar principles. It looks like their teamwork is working. They're packing him up, but Mudan is just toying with them. By manipulating the Tao in the atmosphere, this guy can literally fly. He shifts into a female body and launches a large-scale attack. Sagiri is about to pass out from Tao exhaustion. Yuzuriha tells her to lock in. Sagiri's Tao type is the specific counter to Mudan's attribute. She says there is no way she's dying here because she doesn't want to, and goes all out. Senta grabs Mudan from the back, restraining him. Sagiri closes the distance and lands a fatal blow. It works? Mudan goes down. They actually managed to kill a Tenzin! In the quiet aftermath, we learn the truth about Senta. He actually has feelings for Yuzuriha. He says he envies her free spirit. As a child, Senta wanted to be an artist. He loved to draw, but in his family, all boys are forced to become executioners. He spent years studying religions to rationalize the killing, but eventually he just closed his heart. Yuzuriha is the exact opposite. She does whatever she wants. He's ashamed for admiring a criminal, but Sagiri relates. She feels a similar pull towards Gabimaru. She decides right then and there she is going to save everyone who came to this island. We cut briefly to Gabimaru talking to Mei, but he suddenly collapses. That's not a good sign. As the episode ends, we go back to the battlefield. Yuzuriha notices that more flowers are blooming where Mudon died. Oh no, he is not dead. Mudon launches a sneak attack. Senta jumps in front of Yuzuriha and takes the hit. It's over for him. As the flowers begin to bloom from his wounds, Senta's last thoughts are of Yuzuriha, how beautiful and free she is. Mudon shifts into his terrifying second form, a massive flower monster. He prepares an attack 10 times deadlier than before. Sagiri and Yuzuriha are defenseless, but at that very last second, Shion arrives to save the day. Things are about to get crazy. In the last episode of Hell's Paradise, Shion and Nurugai have to back up Sagiri's group. Shion immediately senses the energy. It's the exact same type of monster that killed Tenza. Nearby, we see Yuzuriha trying to give Senta some medicine, but Senta stops her. He says not to waste it. He knows he's done for. It's surprising, because since when does Yuzuriha care this much for anyone other than herself? Could it be that she actually caught feelings for him too? While that tragic moment unfolds, Shion is taking on Mudon solo, and he's actually keeping up. Because his Tao is denser than Tenzen's, his attacks are dealing real damage. But remember, one tiny scratch is all it takes. Flowers instantly start blooming out of Shion's body. Shion doesn't panic. He literally rips it off his body, saying that he doesn't intend on dying today. But if sacrificing is what it takes to beat a monster like this, then so be it. Sagiri and Nurugai jump in to back him up. Yuzuriha stays on the sidelines. Sagiri tells Shion that the weak point is the tanden, but Mudon has 2 tandens in his second form. Luckily, Sagiri and Nurugai are covered in Yuzuriha's slime, so the flowers can't bloom on them. With that, the 3 versus 1 is on. The fight is intense. Shion is slicing through everything. Sagiri and Nurugai are doing their best to support him, and they notice the Tensen's regeneration is finally slowing down. If they can endure just a little longer, they might actually win. Shion declares he will kill this monster, even if it costs him his life.
I can never atone. Never.
He refuses to forgive himself for running away like a coward and leaving Tenza to die. He winds up for the final slash at the navel, but he hesitates. He isn't sensing strong waves there. It's a decoy. That's when Senta, barely clinging to life, speaks up. He realizes that since they're plants, the weak spot isn't a human navel. It's the ovule, located in the center of the flower petals. He was right. Shion adjusts his aim and strikes the core. As Mudon crumbles away, he says he has waited 1,000 years for this, and thanks him? Wait, what? Thanks? Is he a masochist? Or is death the only true freedom on this island? Honestly, how deep is this anime? Every time we think that we have an answer, we get 3 more questions and a plot twist. Anyways, the battle is finally over. Everyone rushes to Senta. Sagiri wants to save him, but there's nothing they can do. Yuzuriha leans in close. She tells Senta to forget about his job, his clan, and his duties. She tells him to just let the world float away. Hearing her voice, Senta smiles and peacefully passes from this world. Man, this anime really knows how to punch you in the gut when you least expect it. We cut to Gabimaru and his group. He wakes up, but something's wrong. He's acting weird. Back at the shrine, Sagiri's group is resting for the night. Shion reviews the intel. He explains that Tao represents your very life force. If you use too much, you have to pay the price. It could be physical damage, or it could affect your consciousness and memories. Yuzuriha brings up the elephant in the room. The elixir of life isn't here. They can't go back empty-handed. Sagiri argues that it must be real because Gabimaru's village chief was immortal, but Yuzuriha has a different theory. She suggests the chief's immortality might have been an illusion, a classic shinobi trick. Show a kid something supernatural, and you guarantee their loyalty forever. Then she drops the nukes. She says Gabimaru having a wife makes no sense. Shinobi are pawns. Why would a chief let a young killer get married? You can't control everyone with fear alone. You need stronger motivation. As she's saying this, asking if Gabimaru even remembers what his wife looks like, we cut to Gabimaru, and he has actually lost his memories from overusing Tao. Wow, it looks like he's forgotten about his wife. Okay, what the actual hell is happening? So the elixir never existed? Is his wife not even real? Was it all just an illusion shown by the village chief to control him? So all of this time, he was basically under some genjutsu? And now, did using Tao finally break him out of it? He can't remember his wife because, according to this theory, she never even existed. In fact, he can't remember anything personal at all. All he knows is that he's Gabimaru the Hollow, a ruthless ninja with no emotions. Gabimaru doesn't say anything to his team. He tries to play along, but Mei notices instantly it isn't the same Gabimaru. His Tao has completely changed. He can no longer acknowledge his own weakness because he has forgotten the love that made him weak in the first place. As the final episode of the season ends, we see Sagiri thinking about everyone they have lost in just 3 days. She wonders what Gabimaru's doing right now. What happens when he finds out the wife he's been fighting for might just be a lie? And that is where the madness of season 1 ends. But we're just getting started. First, we're going to be starting 2 brand new playlists. One of them is going to be covering the entire story of One Piece, one arc at a time, and the other is going to be for Hidden Gems, where we recap underrated anime that deserve way more recognition than it currently gets, just like Hell's Paradise. But we need your help to find them. So if you got a suggestion for what video you want to see from us next, make sure to join our Discord server. The link's going to be in the description / the pinned comments. You know where to look. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, comment what your favorite scene was because that really helps us in the algorithm, and subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming next. Seriously, I cannot thank you guys enough for watching until the end, and I hope to see you guys watching the next one.